Alright, response video to Zach and Matt and some guy called Dave. Post a link over there. Demanding. Okay, Dave demands or requests a response from me. He's made 3 videos. I've made 803 videos or whatever. You know, I don't think I have to defend my philosophy. I mean, I really have articulated it. If you really are interested, it's there. The explanations, the rest of it. I mean, Zach, instead of answering the questions I put to him, as his usual tactic, he just keeps, okay, where does it come from? Where does my understanding come from? Well, I don't read metaphor, okay? I mean, there's some great books and novels I've read, but, you know, that's not where you find out how the thing works. That's not mechanical, okay? And so, yeah, I grew up on National Geographic, okay? I have 600 of them in this house, and I actually pulled out some old ones, and they're all moldy and shit, and I ended up with a friggin' allergy attack. So just for you, I ended up miserable all night, just to make a point. And, you know, but I also read Popular Mechanics and Popular Science and Nature magazine and such when I was a kid. You know, but there's a whole reservoir of information. And then, yeah, I had a decade of my life where I was really interested in science textbooks. I really did like reading really old books, like you know, science books written in the Darwin era and such, about electricity and things that they were just discovering and just trying to grapple with, and that becomes very very interesting, just because of you can see how the mind tries to deduce what this magic is that they're discovering. And figuring out how it works. So I mean, I had a rich enough education to have enough credibility to express opinions, and I think in my videos I defend those opinions with logic. And you want to make some accusation that I'm not credible because I haven't read your phantasmagorical authors, well, you're entitled to make that accusation. But I think your scientific credibility is on trial here, not mine. What facts of biology and physics are you competent in? What disciplines? Do you understand chemistry? Do you really? So anyway, you know, let's not get into an argument about that shit anyway. The point is that we're going nowhere. I mean, we sort of agree on the enemy. The fact that we have this civilization that is broken, but my argument is it's only broken because of simple problems. I mean, it's like, you know, putting air in tires kind of stuff. All right, it isn't fundamentally broken. It's broken because we've made some bad choices. We've chosen capitalism, which is basically creates huge incentives to do things the shoddy, short-run, sloppy way. Okay, it incentivizes cutting corners. And that's a stupid system. That was a stupid choice. And we've also chosen to retain this archaic religious crap that says breed like mice. Okay, that doesn't work. All right, we see what's happening in the world, and that's the blight. It's a fucking blight on the human race. Okay, because we can't manage the population. We can't provide for it in a rational way, and that's where the chaos breaks loose, because there's too many mouths and too few resources. And it doesn't make sense in the context of these consumption and reproduction. Those are the key elements. All right, and our consumption is getting dictated by a capitalist system that says cut corners, and our reproduction is getting dictated by a religious dogma that says there's no problem, you can just keep populating forever. And so those two mindsets have to go away. They have to get out of our way, and then we'll have civilization that works. But your philosophy of annihilation, you know, I mean, it's almost ludicrous to have this conversation. I mean, I'm going to have a conversation with somebody in the context of a world where I even saw you doing videos about the Holocaust and the horror of the 10 million people dead. Well, you're sitting there and saying you're perfectly comfortable with destroying 9 out of 10 people on the face of the earth, and that you could live with that. You could, as a survivor, sit in your little tribe and say, well, it was all worth it because, you know, we got rid of that 90% extra population, so we could live a nice little life in our tribal world with all people who want to live like tribalists. And that's all it would be. So what's the difference? What's the difference between the filtering of the human race you intend to do, or you intend to be comfortable having happen, and the filtering that Nazi Germany intended. I don't see a huge difference. You're basically saying no technologist allowed. You're saying you have to drop dead. If you want to fly in a space shuttle, fuck you. If you want to communicate on a computer, fuck you. If you want to enrich your life in a virtual reality or some other thing, fuck you. You'll have no place on planet Earth. And so I say fuck you to that. All right. If I have some philosophy that requires people to be exterminated or to die, or at least is even comfortable with that, then yeah, you might as well throw it in the garbage. I don't want to survive after the big Holocaust, okay? The 6 billion people Holocaust. I don't want to be a survivor. Maybe you do, but I don't. That to me is just too high a price to pay for our continued existence on planet Earth. If we're going to go that far, then we all ought to just take the pill now. We ought to just commit suicide and say fuck it, because we're not worth the trouble. We're certainly not worth that much trouble for, you know, to go back to, you know, a world where we'll just become eccentric, silly people, okay, who carve up their belly buttons, you know, scar up their foreheads, you know, knock out their front teeth, do all kinds of silly things with their spare time. No, instead of building a better world, instead of trying to understand the universe, you know, we'll just bathe each other in spit, and that'll be our grand accomplishment. And we'll do that, you know, I should have showed you on that picture, but it's too hard to see. You know, you know, these people are all scarred to hell. They got parasites eating them all the time. I mean, you want to go back? That's just crazy. And so this is nature, Zach. This is nature, okay? That's the design. And you know, to sit there and glorify it, you know, there's no, I mean, I'd like us to be able to work together for a better future, but that's not going to happen, because what you're talking is insane. It's just crazy. And we can save this world. We don't have to watch 6 billion people die. We don't have to. It's not a requirement. And what, you know, like I said, what do you want to go back to? This kind of nonsense? You know, let's just cover ourselves with all kinds of bullshit, and it just, you know, it's just nonsense. It's just silly. You want to take the silliest parts of humanity and preserve them, and then and blow up the most elegant, dignified, intelligent aspects. I mean, what's the point in that? I mean, is this the best human beings can do? I think we can do a hell of a lot better than that. And I think we certainly have an obligation to our intelligence to try to do better than that, and to invest in doing better than that.